Welcome back, everybody. It is the Press Podcast. Glad to be back with you today. We got a great show, good show, huge show, interviewing a friend of mine, Andrew Marcus. This is part one of a few shows that we're going to do with Andrew Marcus. And just a little background for all of you that maybe don't know who Andrew Marcus is. He actually is a well-known worship leader, has a number of albums out. I'm going to put the links in the comments for his albums. Worked with some really big people in the worship industry, Christian music industry. Very talented. But as you'll hear in today's episode, really interesting how he got the call to go into worship. Maybe not what you think. I don't know. He also is hosting a podcast show, that's quite big, doing very well. He's got actually, I think there's 3 different parts to the show: In Doubt, Back to the Bible, and Laugh Again. I'll put all the information in the comments. Make sure you show him some love. If you're not already following him, if you're not already subscribed to his stuff, get over there, do it. It's good stuff. It's going to bless you. And just in case, here we go. It is the INDOUBT Show right here. Okay. And we've got a nice little click on right there for you to get a hold of him, find him there. Get into it. He gets into tough conversations, which is what we like doing here. Bringing the real truth, not afraid to talk about topics that maybe other people aren't able to talk about it. Maybe they can't. We get into it. This is part one. Part two, we're going to get into some of the challenges that have gone on for Andrew. It's a longer show. Before we get going, I want to encourage you to like, subscribe, follow, make sure your notifications are turned on YouTube or whatever platform you're following us. We are on a lot of different platforms. We're on TikTok, we're on X, we're on Rumble, we're on Podbeam, we're on Spotify. For those that just want to listen in audio land, can't watch the video, you're working, whatever, on the way to work, those links are available below. You'll be able to see those. As you can see, we are bringing out more and more shows, lots of cool things going on. You don't want to miss anything. Share this broadcast. That's one of the ways that you can really help us out. Partnering with us, believe it or not, is the more times you like the show, the more times you leave a comment. I know it seems strange, but sometimes it's good to leave a comment. It really helps us in the algorithms get up there, and we get this message out to more and more people. And that's really what the goal of the show is to speak to a lot of different people out there, help them where they're at. And so I just really ask that you would take a few seconds to leave a comment. That is pretty much all that I have for you today. You know how we do it around here. It is now time to get into the press. Well, people, welcome back to the press. It is going to be an exciting show, huge show, crazy show. Hold on to your hats. We've got 2 guys wearing hats. I hope you guys are really locking into what we're doing. Andrew Marcus, thank you so much for being here.
Dude, I am honored. Are you kidding me?
This is great.
This is amazing.
This is, something that I've been looking forward to. And we're going to start the show off with something that people all over the world, I'm sure, are going to copy us.
They probably love to do it.
They're going to love to do it, and they probably copy us, but you're seeing it here first. We've got this juicy bacon. We're going to enjoy some bacon. Here we go.
This is not cheap bacon, man.
This is some like killer. This is here
like,
you go.
If you look
some
how thick
killer bacon. Here we go.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One of the best things is people listening to people chew. You know what I'm saying? So if you're in the audio world right now,
how many people are going to be hungry right off the bat?
Yeah, or fast forward.
They might
this
even
part.
have to pause the show. I know to go. Exactly. Oh, the best bacon.
That is incredible bacon, bro. Your wife made this? Whew.
Yep, good stuff. A little crispy, not too much, but just
It's perfect. I don't like my bacon like soggy.
no.
I like I want to. Sometimes I cook it too much. My wife gets upset at me actually because it's like you take a bite, it just it disappears.
Yeah.
It turns into ash.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. Or crumbles.
I like that crunch though.
Now, you
know?
got to have a little bit of a crunch. It's almost like that chip addiction.
This is a perfect blend of crunch and like chewy.
Thank you.
Shout out.
Thank you.
Shout out to your wonderful wife.
Yeah. Jasmine, way to go. But yeah, so this is so cool. We have known each other for a little bit, but you've been in this digital world for a long time and everything like that. But maybe what we'll do is just, break it all the way down back to the very beginning.
Totally.
You like families from Vancouverish area, or where are you from?
My parents are from the Middle East.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were born there and then moved to Canada, I think in like the 70s, like late 70s.
Okay.
So they've been here for a while.
Okay.
And so my sister and I were both born here. Yeah, they wanted a lot of persecution where they were in the Middle East. Mom's dad planted like over 40 churches in the Middle East. Church planter. Wild story, bro. Like just so faithful. Brought like the Pentecostal Assemblies of God to the Middle East. Crazy, man. I had my mom on the podcast, actually. I should like send you a link of it. And she kind of walks through the whole story. And
I
it's
had
like
no idea.
so dang cool, man.
What?
So lots of ministry from my mom's side for sure. And my dad's, brothers were like, one of them was like an Orthodox, priest and did ministry and stuff. And so, but lots of persecution against Christians out there, obviously, still till today, of course. So when they were thinking we want to have kids, we want to come here, have a better life for them, safer life.
Okay. All right.
So my sister and I were born here.
So Assemblies of God or
I think it's Pentecostal Assemblies of God, if I remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
PAOC. Yeah.
The Charismaniacs, bro.
Yeah,
Hallelujah.
Well, that's all right. We love all people. We love all people.
Heck yeah, we do.
I might be a little leaning towards the charismania side myself.
I am for sure, man. I am for sure.
Okay, so came here. So first generation Canadians.
Yep.
And sister only, or
one sister? Yeah.
One sister.
Yeah,
older.
Yep.
Okay, so you're the youngin.
Yeah, I'm the youngin, man. I'm the young one. She's married, has 3 kids, and my wife and I, we have 3 kids as well. So 6 grandkids for the grandparents, which is awesome. Yeah.
So obviously, Dad, a church planner. Christianity probably was pretty big growing up.
Yes. Yeah. You know what? I think it was like my parents always went to church as far as I can remember, and would always try to, bring us to church. I had my rebellious time like most people. And so I feel like when I was really little, I just went. And then when I started to like be able to make my own decision, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I'm not into it. So there was a season where they had to drag me. I would prefer bedside Baptist, if you know what I'm saying.
Okay.
Pastor Pillow, just stay at home, do nothing.
Yes.
But no, they dragged me.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep.
And yeah, so when they were in Canada doing ministry still, or was this just now raising kids?
Yeah, so I mean like I never met my grandpa. He passed away before I was born. And then but my grandma was here when I was little, and she passed away a few years ago, but ministry wasn't crazy. I have uncles who do crazy ministry and do a lot of outreach stuff, and everyone is involved. And my mom has 8 brothers and sisters, and all of them are involved to some degree of ministry. So it's a ministry family.
Wow.
Yeah. And my mom would always tell me growing up, like, oh, you're going to be a pastor one day. I was like, get behind me. I did not. I just wanted to be like, in the NBA. And then I realized that's probably never going to happen, especially with the amount of bacon I eat. It's like, there's no way. But, I wanted to do anything else, but they kept saying, oh, you're going to be a pastor one day, like just like all your uncles and all the family. It's like in the family. And I just always just tried to rebuke it, but caught up to me, bro.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Yeah. And sister, how does she with God? How's that working out?
Yeah, she loves the Lord, and her kids go to a Christian private school, and that's going really great. And she has her PhD in molecular biology. She has the brains.
Whoa.
And I have the looks.
Jeez.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
We know that story in our family too. Yeah, exactly.
But
sister
she's a genius, man.
Is that right?
She's a genius.
Okay.
Yeah, she's now a teacher. Teaches. She taught biology at a college for a long time. Now she's a high school teacher. But very, very smart, phenomenal painter and artist, and like brains and science, and like I'm just like, who is this person?
Oh man, sounds like you got a lot of good points there.
Oh man, she's amazing. And
That's
honestly,
cool. Yeah,
she might be watching this.
exactly.
And if you are, follow and like and subscribe and do all those things. But she's also like the most humble, sweetest, kindest human being you've ever met in your life. She's amazing. Yeah. So I've been so blessed to have a sister like her.
So with this kind of a heritage in the family, do we know where God came in?
That's a good question, man.
Okay.
I would have to, when we do our follow up on the supernatural.
Okay.
I'll do some more digging.
All right.
I feel like my mom's side, I don't know how far back it goes, you know. I don't know if like my great grandpa, I don't know.
Because would that be like, that's not super common in that area?
No, it's not
right?
at all. Like obviously Islam is like huge.
Right.
And Christianity, that's why it was just like a very small group of people and a lot of persecution. And then I feel like when they came to Canada, my mom and dad started to like take it really serious probably in the 90s. They like really like committed, you know, take all of me kind of season in their lives. And so
you kind of remember some of that. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting how that sticks out to you.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So in Vancouver, was it Vancouver or
like
Burnaby
Surrey,
or something?
Surrey.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where I get my hood from.
Oh boy.
A little bit. That's why we're wearing hats. You know?
Yes. Oh,
are you from? Where are you from?
So I'm from Ottawa. I grew up in Ottawa for most of my life, and then at 16, turning 17, moved out here.
Yeah.
West Vancouver.
British properties. Hello.
Yeah.
A little different than Surrey. You know what I'm saying?
A little different than Surrey. Dad did very well in real estate investments and stuff like that. So, but I wasn't the rich kid though.
Yeah.
So it was really weird for me. I didn't fit in over at the high school I went to. You know, there's country clubs and stuff like that. And the kids are driving Porsches and Benzos. Teachers are driving Hondas and Toyotas, you know, but I was just a different, money came fast to us. Yeah. And so it was just different that way. But wow. So that's it. And then Surrey, and so you're thinking for real basketball? Is that like,
no, I mean, I'm joking around, man. Like, I mean, I loved basketball. I still do.
Yeah.
I'm actually coaching my son, 6-year-old boys team. It was like not a team, but you know, it's his first time playing. So it's just like, it's fun. But so I do love basketball, but yeah, I mean, I wanted to get in business. I love business, so I started a company when I was in grade 10, and my parents thought I was like slanging rocks because I'm coming home with all this cash, and I'm like, no, it's all legit. It was all legit. I signed a deal with my dad's. This is really interesting. I signed a deal with my dad's company that he was working for. They got a whole bunch of like Nokia 3390, like old phones.
Okay.
So I'm aging myself for sure, but anyways, and they needed the phones for the SIM cards, and they didn't need the phones, so I signed a contract with them and bought like 300 phones. And just sold them at school. And then I'm like, I probably should sell like cases and lights and all. So I just like started being the phone guy.
You were hustling.
And I just, dude, and then all of a sudden people coming from different schools, like I'll buy 10 at a time or 20 at a time. I'm just like, it was wild, bro. So I'm coming home with like freaking wads of cash. It was amazing. So I love business and just connecting with people and just like, you know, seeing a need and then, you know, bring it. So I do real estate right now, as well as doing the INDOUBT show as kind of InDoubt's my full-time job right now, which we could talk about. But
we will.
But yeah, so then in grade 12, I started a car company because I'm obsessed with cars. And so we sold like performance parts, carbon fiber hoods, body kits, whatever.
You did not.
Fast and Furious came out, so it was kind of just like, this is a perfect opportunity.
Oh, this
just like,
is what like so many people were doing. Like 5 guys at my school were doing European imports.
Yeah, dude. It's like, it's the thing, man.
Yeah, Bronze Auto Parts imports.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many stories, but okay.
Yeah, so I started something called GR Performance, and we did it for years. And then I ended up like supplying to like different places. It was pretty wild. So I was like 18 years old. And I was like, I'm going to go to Trinity Western University and learn about business and then just apply it to my business as I'm, you know, doing it.
Yeah.
So took marketing classes, accounting classes, all that kind of stuff. And it was super helpful and I really enjoyed it. And then boom, something changed. And I felt a call to ministry, which that's a whole other story. Yeah. Because I didn't do anything and didn't like church.
Yeah,
at the time.
You were saying you were kind of like
avoiding
that scenario.
Totally.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Because we're at that anyway. So you're in school, business school. I
Yep.
mean, you know God, you
Yep.
know, you know, is Jesus is
Yep.
God's son. Like, you know that, you know, the stories, going to church on Christmas and Easter or whatever.
Yeah.
or-
And I would try to go sometimes, but I'm just like, I understand the story. I know God is real. I feel like when I was like 5 or 6 years old, I remember praying in my bed, like, Lord, like, I give you my life.
Right.
I put my hands up in my bed and said, Lord, I give you my life. And so I knew he existed. I knew he loved me. I knew he was good. But maybe as a young adult, maybe I thought maybe not good enough, or maybe I can do things on my own. So there still wasn't like a surrender. It was just awareness of him.
Right.
Yeah. And so that was when I was at Trinity.
When you were at Trinity. Okay.
Yeah. Like I loved him, but not a lot.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, for sure. I think
Yeah.
I think a lot of people can relate with that, you
Yeah.
know, in Christian families.
Totally.
Growing up that
Totally.
way, you know, they kind of remember just always loving Jesus,
Totally.
you know, always knowing he's God.
Yeah.
But what does that really mean to my impact?
Yeah.
Daily,
Yeah.
different things like, you know, we're not, you know, living in evil,
Yeah.
but we're, you know, we're just doing our thing.
There was a big turning point for me, bro.
Let's do it.
I was dating a girl who was a non-believer from my high school, and I graduated grade 12, going into university, and obviously high school, everyone kind of just stopped hanging out as much or whatever. And I knew that I needed to leave this person. I knew that, you know, God actually gave me a vision, and that doesn't happen often.
Okay.
But he put 2 apples together, and one was really fresh, and one was rotten. And when they come together, then all of a sudden the fresh one started getting rotten on that side.
Poof.
And that's all I saw. And I was like, oh man, I think I'm being distracted and it's damaging my soul.
Wow.
And so I called this person and said, hey, I don't understand this. I need to serve the Lord with my mind, body, soul, and strength. I don't know what that even means, but I just feel like I have to do it by myself. And just kind of ended bad friendships. A lot of my high school friends have been killed due to drug activity and gangs and whatever, all that kind of stuff. It's a whole other can of worms. And so I was in like the wrong group of people some seasons of my life, and dating a person who was taking me away from God clearly. And so it was when I just said, okay, I'm just gonna leave everything and follow you, Lord. And I feel like God the only way I can see it is like God had this big bag, and he was like, okay, Andrew's going to do this for my glory. He's going to do this for my glory. I'm going to equip him to do this for my glory. But I can't give him these things yet because he's just not ready.
Okay.
And it was when I saw that vision and when I made those phone calls and made those big decisions and just kind of ran away from that life, it's like he turned the bag upside down. And all of a sudden I was flooded with love and grace and opportunity and gifts and like passions that I've never had before. And so that all happened like as I'm kind of transitioning into Trinity Western, and it was a wild time, man. It was a wild time.
That's really interesting because I'm sure there's going to be a number of people listening to the show that may be in that situation, you know, where they're with somebody, you know, and they kind of know some things in their heart, but it's hard to do it.
It is. And I mean, obviously everyone's story is different. Like, I'm not going to tell you what to do.
Sure.
It's just for my life.
Sure.
I can't like put my life onto someone else's life, but I just felt for me, I just couldn't flirt to convert.
Okay.
I couldn't do lip to lip discipleship, man. I couldn't like, it just wasn't working. I was just getting taken away rather than, you know, being on a mission. Cause I thought, I have one foot in the church, but then I had one foot in the world, but like I can make a difference and I can be whatever, but it just wasn't working for me.
It wasn't going to work out. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
in my situation, that's what God showed me, and I needed to.
And he was faithful.
He was so faithful. Oh my goodness.
You know, you laid that down.
Yep.
You made the hard decision. Yep. You know, and then now we're at Trinity, right?
Yeah.
And so this music. Was this
Man.
even on the radar at all? Like,
No,
have
bro.
we ever had lessons? Like, you know, like,
No.
like let's, nothing.
Well, so at this point, I'm at Trinity Western, and I decide to go to church by myself. So I've kind of left everything, left whatever, and I'm like, now all of a sudden, I'm like, I have this kind of void, and I'm like, I just want to go to church on my own. I'm not gonna get dragged. It was the first time, so I drove to a different church. I was in Surrey. I drove to a church in Langley, Christian Life Assembly, and And I went to the back balcony, top corner, didn't know anyone, didn't want to know anyone, didn't want to talk to anyone. I'm like, I don't even know why the heck I'm here. I don't even know how I got here. I don't even know. I didn't know this address. Like, I didn't know this place. I just got in my car and I just drove and found myself there.
Come on.
It's wild, bro.
Yeah.
That is wild if you think about it. So I walk in, I have no idea what's going on.
Okay.
It's like I'm not even, like, I just didn't get it. So the pastor, who I didn't know at the time, now we're good friends. His name is Pastor Brent Canelon. And he said, hey, I want you to think of your gifts and offer them to the Lord. And I just put my hand up right away and said, Lord, use me in music. And then I put my hand down quicker than I put it up because I'm like, I don't play instruments. I don't sing. When my parents dragged me to church, the one thing I disliked the most was the worship time.
What?
So I would go to the bathroom. I would close the stall. I'd wait for the music to stop. I'd pretend like my stomach hurt or whatever. I'm just waiting. And then the music stops and I'm healed. And just go and I just doodle on a bulletin until the guy finishes preaching and move on. And my parents would walk up to the prayer altar every Sunday and I know they're praying for me. And I'm almost like praying against their prayers. It's like making me pray. And I'm like, wait, I'm like, what's going on right now? It's just so wild. But they're the most faithful, amazing parents in the world. Anyway, so there's no background of, playing anything.
So you just feel time to start going to church.
Yeah,
something different's going on.
I drive to a place.
Drive to a random church, and like for people that don't know, there's a lot of churches.
Oh, there's a lot of churches, man.
There's not like one.
No,
there's like hundreds.
You can't even make this up. You can't even write this. It's just so amazing.
And so you land up in this church, and you're just not wanting anything, and all of a sudden something's speaking to you somehow, and you put your hand up. You don't know what the deal is, and now all of a sudden there's a stirring going on.
And I'm like, what did I just do? Because I don't even like I'm listening to Tupac, Biggie, Nas. I'm like listening to hip hop, and like I'm not in this instruments and singing and playing all that kind of stuff. So it was very confusing to me. And then 2 or 3 days later, I get an email from a guy who got my email address from my mom. And he emails me, and I think I still have the email somewhere. His name's Chris Wanzura. We just hung out over Christmas break this last year, and just kind of caught up, which was like so awesome. Yeah. But anyway, so this guy emails me, hey, I want to teach you music. And at the bottom of his email, I don't teach for money. I teach people who want to glorify God, like use their gifts to glorify God. It was like the same sentence that I prayed when the guy, so I'm like, this is really crazy.
Sounds like a setup.
Sounds like a setup. Oh my gosh, it was a setup, bro. So I, went to go meet him, and we take 3 or 4 lessons. He looks kind of familiar, but I don't really know him. Ends up being on the worship team of the church that I randomly drove to. And I'm like, this is getting really wild.
Boy.
After 4 or 5 lessons, I've left everything. Now I'm on fire, man. I'm seeing God move in like very tangible ways. I knew he existed. I knew he's real. I knew he loves me. I kind of loved him. But now it's like, oh my goodness, he's real. And he's moving and he's doing things that are so clearly him and not a coincidence. That I'm just like, okay, I'm in. Like I'm all in. And so now I'm going to church all 3 services. I'm going half an hour early to like worship while the band practices.
Yeah.
I'm not on the balcony anymore. I'm like kind of, the first row of the balcony, and then I'm like on the main floor, and I'm kind of creeping my way up
there.
Not to hate on any balcony people.
Yeah.
We love you.
Yeah.
But, just God was just doing something. And I feel like maybe that was just like symbolizing that I'm just getting closer to him, and I just want to be around him all the time. So,
I personally believe the closer you are to the front, the closer you are to God.
Yeah, like honestly, like if you're in the spit, if you're in the spit zone, like in the front, man, it's just like freaking SeaWorld. That's hilarious.
That is the way it is. So this is some really big differences.
Man, it's just like night and day. People would even be like, what is going on with Andrew? I'd be studying for an economics exam with 2 buddies, and I'm like, guys, I think God's calling me to be a worship leader. And they're like, dude, you play an instrument? I'm like, no, man. They're like, do you sing? I'm like, no, not really. And he's like, bro, shut up and study, man. I'm like, no, like I really feel something, man. I feel something. And so it was just like, man, God was doing something. And I remember sharing the story with you when we went for coffee. It was just like, okay, now I'm going to all 3 services. I'm like obsessed with being at church. Any opportunity I can, I'm there. And so if I'm not there during the worship rehearsal, I'm late because I just want to be there as soon as I can. So I wake up a little late. I'm panicked. I grab the first pair of pants, first shirt, run out the door. I'm going straight to the church. And then there was a guest speaker that Sunday. he talks about David and Goliath, and, you know, David didn't use the armor and all the crazy stuff. He just used what he was good at, what he was equipped to do. So it's like he reached into his pouch, got his sling, got some smooth rocks, and that's just what he knew. So the pastor was like, reach into your pouch and see what God has given you. And I'm like, okay, I guess a pouch is like my pocket, like a modern day pouch. So I put my hand in my pocket as he's talking, and then as I grab something, he's like, yes, that's the thing. You know what it is.
Oh,
take that out of your pouch
Yeah.
and use it for the glory of God. I take out my hand, it's a guitar pick, and I'm like bawling, man. I'm bawling. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm just constantly confirmation after confirmation after confirmation. Then I have this crazy dream that I told you about. I'll tell you a couple dreams.
Yeah.
One of them was like, you know, I wake up and I'm like still in my room. I'm totally asleep, but everything's as it is. And there's this big like ladybug or something like this big flying around my room, and I'm like, what the heck is that? And it lands at the corner of my desk. I get up and I go to see what it is, and it's like shining, and it just said Psalm 92. And so I'm like, what? So then I wake up from that dream. As soon as I saw Psalm 92, I just wake up and I look where the bug was, and my Bible's sitting in the exact same spot. So I get up, I go to it, I open to Psalm 92. It is good to praise the Lord with music.
Wow, come on.
And I'm like,
Jeez.
okay.
Yeah.
Then I started wondering, okay, this is a crazy story. Then I started wondering, okay, Lord, I'm learning guitar and I'm starting to like get involved with church, and I'm like, you know, volunteering. Everything's happening very, very quick. And it's not to say that I was like the super talented guy that I didn't know about. I just feel like God saw, you know, I'm convinced maybe God tapped on a lot of shoulders that morning. People didn't hear it, or they didn't want to hear it, or they didn't want to submit. And so God just says, I'll take that, you know, absolute bozo in the back who knows nothing about anything. And he's there. He's available. He put his hand up, even if it was for a quick second. I'm going to use him.
Come on.
For my glory. And so it's not, nothing in my life is like, oh, look what I've done. Everything in my life is like, oh my goodness, God, you're so good. I don't even understand how these things happen.
You couldn't even put it together.
I can't. Like, I can't take any credit. Yeah. None of it makes sense. So I'm driving home from helping my mom at her accounting firm. And because I still like that kind of stuff in my mind. And so I just a numbers guy. So anyway, so I'm driving home. I'm at a red light. I'm like, Lord, should I learn piano too? I noticed the worship leader at our church, like he leads off acoustic, but he also like leads off piano. And I'm like, should I learn piano? Like, just let me know. I'm talking to him now all the time. Everywhere I go, I'm just talking to him. And I stop at a red light. A car pulls up beside me, and it's this old lady, and she has a paper on her window that says, I teach piano, call me.
Oh my goodness. This is craziness.
And I'm just staring at this lady, and she's probably so terrified that this guy is just like staring at her with his mouth open. Light turns green, she peels out because she's so uncomfortable. Because I couldn't even take her number down. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
You're just in shock. Yeah.
So I got a piano and like a little keyboard, and I just like, okay, Lord, like, let's do this. And he just kind of taught me, and I had friends who kind of taught me, and so there's just like story after story of it, just like confirmation after confirmation after like it never ended. It was just like these little snippets of like, hey, I'm with you. Yeah, okay. And it came from just talking to him all the time. When I was at Trinity, it's like everywhere I go, I would just talk to him. Like, okay, Lord, like as I walk into this room, like just if there's anyone you want me to talk to or anyone you want me to love or pray for, like I'm just here.
It's like your consciousness.
You're just constantly conversing with him.
He's like with you.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
And so it's like I can talk to him all the time. And when this is a reality for all of us. It's not like a special thing like I have like I'm behind the veil, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like that's important for people to know. Like we have this all access pass because of what Jesus has done, that we can just come to the Father and just talk.
Childlike faith.
It's amazing. And so like there were times where I'd be like at the cafeteria at Trinity, and I'm talking to him, and I know this might sound weird to some people.
Yeah.
And I just feel like God. And then I was there, and I had my food on my tray, and I just felt God say, "Hey, go to the atrium. There's a guy in the far right corner. Just go tell him it's going to be okay."
Come on.
So I just put my tray down, like okay. So I walk to the atrium. There's a guy in the far corner. I go sit down. I'm kind of nervous, obviously, because I'm like, I don't know. What if it was like the pizza I had yesterday? I don't know. And I'm like, hey, man, I don't know if this makes any sense, but I just feel like God told me to come here and say it's going to be okay. And the guy just breaks down about all these things that are going on and starts weeping, and we get to pray together. It was just like, man, like God is speaking to us all the time.
It sounds like adventures.
Bro, when people say, "Oh, Christianity's like boring," or like, I'm like, bro, it's like the freaking like the best life.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's like terribly hard.
Costs you a lot.
Cost a ton.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a ton of persecution and a ton of attacks. Like there's many times I don't want to be a believer because I hate the attacks.
Sure.
And we can talk about that, but it's just like, and
obviously we remember the highlight reels of these things, you know, but as you're saying that, you know, I remember I'm in Bible school.
Yeah.
Have to get to the classes early because I'm getting a ride with a guy. I don't have a car.
Yeah.
And having coffee. I get up early in the morning to pray and do a little worship. And so I have coffee, and it's a excellent Bible school. So you wear suits.
Yeah. Come on.
And everything like this. And so I'm in the back of the car going there, and I'm like, oh no. I forgot to brush my teeth, man. Oh my gosh. Everybody's going to smell this horrible coffee breath on me, right? And it was like a little thing. And so I would have to go to the school early. Yeah. So I go into the church sanctuary, and they had prayer 24/7.
Love it.
Like, you know, and 5 people in there. But anyway, so I go in there, and this is a massive church, 3,000 plus people. And like I said, an excellent place. So one time I had a highlighter for my Bible after service. I left it in the pew. I went to my car, walked back in. The place had already been cleaned, and the highlighter was waiting at the information booth for me. 10 minutes. Okay. And so it's pristinely clean. So I go there that morning, and I usually sit in one spot, but I feel for some reason, go sit in this other spot. Yeah. So I go sit in this other spot. I sit down, and I look down on the floor, and there's a wrapped Lifesaver breath mint in a bag, sealed bag.
God cares about the little, all the things, man.
Bro, I broke down.
Isn't that
crying.
amazing?
I'm like, God, are you serious?
And God's like, bro, your breath is nasty. Let me let me be your lifesaver,
he knew that
man.
there were people that were going
what a lifesaver, bro.
Right? But there it is, sealed in plastic, just left there. And out in the open, so any of the cleaning staff would have seen it.
Isn't that wild, man?
Do you know
God
what I mean?
cares about all the little intricacies, big things. Like they're all like, he just cares about everything.
Yeah.
2 days ago from when we were recording this, I went to go look at a project car. I love cars. I love working on cars and whatever. So I went to go look at a project car. I don't have money for a project car. I don't have space for a project car.
You just got to look at it.
But I'm like, I just got to look at it. But it was more than that. I felt like God was telling me I needed to go see this man who was selling it. So I told my wife, I'm like, honey, don't worry. I'm not going to make any stupid decisions because I've done that in the past. But I just feel like I'm supposed to go see this guy. I don't know why. I need to go see him. So I pull up to his place, and I meet this guy. And the first thing he says to me is like, hey, man, like, just to let you know, I feel bad, but like, there's a guy who might be coming down from Merritt to get this car.
Okay.
And I just feel bad about it because like he asked first, whatever. I'm like, oh, it's totally fine, man. And he looks at me right away because I was just so chill about it. He's like, okay, tell me, what do you do? And who are you? Like, what your demeanor is very different. Most people would have got really upset. And I'm like, oh, you know, I do INDOUBT, or like I told him about the podcast that we do. I talk about I've been in pastoral ministry for whatever. I do real estate. I kind of have a lot of things going on. And we hung out for like 2 hours talking about God. Gave me a tour of his whole shop. Started confining me. Starts crying about all these addictions and all. It was wild, bro. And I got to like just pastor him.
Jeez.
And I'm like, and when I left, I was like, hey, man, I just want you to know, like, I didn't come for the car. I felt like I was supposed to come just to see you.
Come on.
And he just was like, wow, like he just couldn't believe it. It was just like the coolest thing. So I'm driving home. I'm like, that was wild. But
Wow.
God is like putting things in our hearts and prompting us. And I always encourage people and try to remind myself if like a random person comes into mind, pray. Like, it's not random.
Right.
Like, these things don't happen randomly. Or if you're late for something, like maybe God protected you from something, or like, you know, or sit somewhere else and you get your lifesaver so you don't freaking kill someone with your breath. Like all the details. All the details, man. Like the other day, sorry, I'm talking a lot.
Do it.
This is what happens when you get a host on your show, bro.
This is what we love, though. Let's do it.
But I was just like, maybe last week, a buddy came in my heart that I've never thought of I haven't thought of him for a long time. I used to do work with him years ago. And so at my old church, and I'm like, at CA actually.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm like, oh man, like I haven't thought about him in a while. So I'm like, I should pray for him. Whenever someone comes in my heart, it's not random, or someone looks like someone, or someone walks by and they have a resemblance to someone.
Okay.
Instantly just pray. I don't know what's going on, but I just take nothing like that
The
lightly.
little promptings.
Totally.
Yep.
So I pray for him. I'm like, you know what? I should text him and just let him know, hey, man, praying for you. I haven't talked to you in like a long time. Just want to let you know I'm praying for you this morning. I thought of you this morning. And he texts me back. He's like, you have no idea the timing. Like, today's my last day at CA. And I'm like, what? So I call him, we talk and all these, and we just got to like connect together. And it's like these little promptings, man, are not like random. Nothing's random. God is in control and he's sovereign, and just like he's like just the providence of God and how meticulously sovereign he is over every detail of our lives.
Yeah.
Listen, lean in. When God speaks something to you or puts someone on your heart or tells you to go somewhere or pay for someone's groceries or whatever the case is, like just lean in, man.
Yeah. And I find it so interesting that the God of the universe would use us.
I know, man.
To do that kind of stuff.
I know.
Like, who are we?
Totally, man.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And we're not prophet so-and-so or whatever this or, whatever that. But it's like, and even as you're speaking, there's such a blessing, though, that you receive.
Totally, man.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you just changed that guy's life.
Yeah.
With the car and even this friend of yours, like, you don't know the impact that little you per se, right?
Tiny me, bro. Honestly, in light of it, tiny me.
You know what I mean? But here he is, gives you something, little promptings, little things. You're faithful.
Yeah.
You're crazy enough to believe that God might be talking to you.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Right? Do it. And now this guy's crying. He's telling you his story, and you're just, it was a car.
Yeah.
Right.
But was it? This is what I say now. I tell people this all the time.
Yeah.
Pizza guy came over a couple weeks ago. We had our girl's first birthday. We had some people over. And everything that happens, man, I just say, okay, like the guy thought he was coming to deliver pizza. Or when we're doing work in the garden, it's like, oh, the guy thought he was coming to clean our garden. It's like, that's not the only reason why they came.
All right.
So the pizza guy comes. We have a great like connection somehow. My sister actually recognized him because like he delivered pizza to her house in Fort Langley. So it's like, it was just like this fun thing. So I chased him out into the car as I felt like led to do that. I'm like, hey, I gave him a little, little gift and a little Bible thing that we have for InDoubt, and told him that, my sister and I, we love Jesus, and, like he changed our lives. And he's like, you know what? Like, I just came from India and I don't really have a lot of friends and a lot of whatever, but like, I promise I'm going to read this today.
Oh, man.
It's so much better than like, so it's just like little things like that. The guy thought he was coming to deliver pizza. The guy thought I was coming to buy a car. Like, there's other purposes. And I do want to say, I'm sharing my highlight reel. If I like I have a friend who he told my sister, because he works with her now, your brother is the only person I've ever met in my life, because he used to be on the worship team at CA, and just God really used me to minister to him and help him on his journey.
Okay.
And he just said, Andrew is the only person in my life that I could say is like Jesus on earth to me. And I'm like, bro, I'll give you my wife's number, and she'll tell you how much I'm like Satan. It's like they just see the one side.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm sharing highlight reels. But the amount of times I've said no.
Right.
The amount of times I felt a prompting.
Right.
And did not respond.
Right.
That's important to know.
Yeah.
Because it's like I'm not this floating on the clouds getting everything right.
Right.
There was one time a girl signed onto Facebook chat. And I haven't talked to her in years. I don't even know why we're Facebook friends. Like, we were never in the same circle. But Facebook, it's like you're friends with people you're actually not friends with.
Absolutely.
So anyway, she signs on. Her name's Patricia. And I felt God prompt very clearly, man, saying, hey, I want you to tell her about me. And I want you to tell her all the things I've done in your life and how I've changed your life. And I was uncomfortable. And it's Facebook. It's not like I'm talking in person. It's easy to just type something. But for some reason, I'm like, was that God? I've seen all these things before, and I'm doubting. Maybe that wasn't God. And I feel the prompting again, like message her. I'm like, I don't think that's you. The next day I wake up, I go on Facebook, and there's a Rest in Peace Patricia group.
Oh, man.
And she died that night in a boating accident.
Oh, man. Wow.
And right away, I close my eyes, I fall on my face, and I could just see Satan's bony little finger pointing at me, saying like, see your God as nothing, like, and yeah, man, that was really hard. And I prayed, and I felt like I just The Lord gave me an opportunity. He doesn't need us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He gave me an opportunity to partner with him
Absolutely.
and see him again move in an amazing way.
Wow.
I rejected it.
Mm.
This happened. Maybe he tapped someone else. Maybe he just revealed himself to her on his own because he can.
Mm-hmm.
And so I try to rest in the sovereignty and, the providence of God. But at the same time, I was like, dang it.
Yeah. Yeah.
How could I do that after seeing him move so many times?
Mm.
And then also ask yourself, okay, what's the worst case scenario?
Right.
So I tell her about the goodness of God, how God changed my life, and nothing else happens. Like, who cares? You know how many times I go down to the downtown east side and, hey, I want to tell you about Jesus, and they're like, F you, man, get out of here. I'm like, all right, like, oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, okay, moving on. Like,
Yeah.
what's the worst case scenario? Someone doesn't like you for a second, you'll never see them again for the rest of your life.
Wow. And that is a real story.
Gosh.
And similar thing happened to me, man. I had a neighbor and knew him well, and I was warming back up to walking close with Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Never denied him, but just on my own path.
Yeah.
And I felt a few times, talk to him about me. I didn't, and he passed.
Yeah.
And
Dang it.
killed me,
Yeah.
like really upset me.
Yeah.
Because it is both ways.
Yeah.
You want to be. It's the faithful being faithful.
Yeah.
But it's at the same time, it would be really sad.
Yeah.
If he's not in heaven.
Yeah.
Like that would really devastate me.
Yeah.
And so it pushes me
Yeah.
in a good way too.
Yeah.
Because, it's a learning.
Yeah.
And God knows it.
Yeah.
And he knew that was the scenario.
Yeah.
He knew you and me, we would do that.
Yeah.
It wasn't a surprise.
No, it wasn't a surprise. And
Wasn't
again,
a shock.
like you said, it's like he doesn't need us for anything.
No.
He could have revealed himself in a
Absolutely.
dream or a vision or just show up at the guy's door
Absolutely.
himself.
Yeah.
So it's like he invites us into this
Yes, he
beautiful
does.
invitation
Yeah.
where we can be a blessing to others, and it blesses us richly. When I used to do travel ministry, I used to tour all over the world playing music. I always felt like when I'd lead at these churches and events that the people there like literally blessed me more than my gift and my time there. I'm like, I always leave thinking like, I hope I did something, because it's just like you also just get radically blessed when you serve and when you step out in faith. Like, he doesn't need us, but he just has this beautiful invitation to just see him move and encourage your faith and bless a brother or sister.
Absolutely.
So.
And I think there can be no greater blessing than taking fear on
Yeah.
and taking it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then you really do understand that God is bigger
Yeah.
than these things, and
Yeah.
it's the real deal. And that's what being Christian is,
Totally.
we make the right decisions. We make the wrong decisions.
Yeah.
We gravitate more to the right, hopefully,
Yeah.
and walk that way. But, I appreciate getting into some of that right
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
because it is important for us to really understand that we don't know the times that people are around.
Totally, man.
And what's the big deal?
Honestly,
what's the risk?
that's the thing. I ask myself that all the time. What would have the risk been? It was a Facebook message. Like, it's not even like I have to walk up to someone randomly.
Yeah.
And another thing, you need to know this if you're watching or listening in audio world. Nothing's random.
Right.
Like the guy who was in the corner of the atrium. And it's like, for me, I'm like, oh my goodness, that's so random. Drop everything and go tell the guy it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on in his heart. And God is speaking to other people way before you show up into the scene. It's not about you at all. So it's like, it's not random.
Right.
It's like they're actually ready and waiting.
Yes.
It's not like this came out of nowhere.
Right.
So just encourage people who are listening, like,
just do it.
Just do it. It's
Just
not
go
random.
for it.
They're ready.
Yeah.
Like, if God's prompting you to do something, the other party is ready. And even if it doesn't look like they're ready, like, God is going to use it. And again, the worst case scenario is you get to tell someone. Like, there was one guy walking by, we were downtown eating food or whatever, and this homeless guy walked by with a big bag of cans, and he walked so fast past us. And I felt God said, hey, I want you to just tell him that I love him. Just tell him that I love him and that I care for him. And he's getting smaller and smaller. He's walking away. I'm like, dang it, I missed my chance. And then he's walking so fast that he took a break. So we ended up walking past him while he was resting. So I'm like, this is my chance. I walk by him. I still don't do it. Then his break is over. He walks past me again, going so fast. I'm like, oh, now's my chance.
Does he bump into you? Like,
no.
Like literally, you know?
He doesn't, but he walks past me again. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my chance. I don't do it again. It's like, and then he rests again. And like, this happened like 4 or 5 times where I'm like, oh my gosh, I keep seeing this guy. So finally he walks past me again, maybe the 4th or 5th time. He's getting smaller and smaller. I'm like, no, I just need to freaking second up and do this. So I chase after him, which is probably not the best idea, chasing a homeless guy in Vancouver. So I wouldn't recommend that. But I chase after him, tap him on the shoulder. He was obviously very startled. But I'm like, hey man, sorry. So I just wanted to catch up to you. I just feel like I need to tell you that, you know, God loves you. And again, this breaking down and praying together. And like, it's like he was ready for something. It wasn't a random, like, go tell that guy super randomly because I'm not even, no, God was speaking to him way before. And it was just like, you got to just do it, man. Just do it. And the worst case scenario, you might look like a bimbo for a couple minutes and I'll never see that guy again. If he walked past me, I wouldn't recognize him.
Yeah.
Like you don't even have to worry.
No.
And so be bold, be encouraged. Like we did an interview. So In Doubt is where I work now. We have a podcast and you can let people know about it, I guess, or whatever.
We certainly will.
Indoubt.com, check it out. But anyways, we had Ray Comfort on the program.
Oh, yes.
And he's like an evangelist freaking legend.
Yes.
And I asked him the question because I was just curious, hey, do you get nervous when you go to these schools and like evangelize to people? He's like, I get nervous every time. And I'm like, wow, a guy who does that much evangelism, you'd think he'd be like, dude, I got it in the bag, man. Like this is easy.
Yeah.
Still. So it's like the nerves will never go away. You might feel a little uncomfortable. Those are never going to go away. The butterflies, whatever, all those feelings. But don't let it stop you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll all break off and you'll feel the presence of God in such an amazing way when you just break through that.
Come on. Yeah.
Break through that.
And now it's probably easier in a way, if I could use that word.
Yeah.
But you're now given more to it.
Yeah.
Than not.
Totally.
Right.
Totally.
And it's like a muscle.
Yeah.
The more you flex it, the
Totally,
more you
man.
do. And I'm sure it like even Ray said, it's still nerve-wracking and different things, but it
Just for a moment though. Like once you break the ice, it's like.
Yeah. While we're in this vein, I feel like I want to say one more story.
Yeah, come on.
You know, so working with Teen Challenge downtown.
Love Teen Challenge,
downtown.
bro.
Shout out to Teen Challenge. Downtown East Side.
Yeah.
I'm like a Christian 6 months.
Yeah.
Just same. I'm in the church 24/7. Anything
Love
they
it.
had, I'm doing it. You
Love
know.
it.
So I'm going down. Before I'm going down, I'm praying. And I'm in my room, and all of a sudden I have a vision, and it's like behind me. I can see behind me, and I see just thousands of huge, massive, warring angels.
Wow.
And I drop to my knees.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, what does this mean? And I felt like this little voice says to me, tonight when you go out, all of heaven is going with you.
Wow. Bro.
And I'm like, whoa, man.
Angel armies,
it just, and I'm like, okay, God, I don't want to just randomly talk to people.
Yeah.
Send me to the ones that are ready. Even if it's one person the whole night, I'm ready to do it. That's what I prayed.
Yeah.
I get down there. As I'm getting down there on the top of buildings, I feel like evil eyes of red looking at me like, you're coming in our zone. And I'm like, let's go. I just was so pumped. I'm like, there's something crazy is going to happen. So I'm walking around and I'm praying, God, who's the person I'm supposed to talk to? And we're talking about downtown East Side, Pigeon Park.
Yeah. Most murders per capita.
Most murders, and just like literally nowhere somebody who's a young person really wants to go.
No, so that's the area you lock your doors. You don't look anywhere at the red light, and you just
go
peel through
as fast as you can. Go through it. So I'm down there walking around, and there's some abandoned apartment blocks, and I see this guy, and he looks like one of those Harley Davidson bike riders. He's got all the leathers on, right, and like an older chap, right, and I'm like, I feel like that's the guy, right? I'm like, oh man, Lord, like I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable talking to people that are hurting, but this guy, like, if he doesn't like me, he can hurt me. Yeah, exactly, right. So I'm like, okay. So I go up to him, and he's just standing there, and he's kind of like looking at me like this, and I'm like, hey, buddy, how you doing? And he's like, whatever, right? And I'm like, listen, we're down here. We've got food and drinks. We're over here giving it out. And he's like, oh yeah, what are you with? Like, some church or something? I'm like, yeah, we're with the church,
Don't hurt me.
Yeah, right. And he's like, oh yeah, well, yeah, this and that, right? And so I'm like, what's going on? I'm a new Christian. I share a little bit of my story with him, and he seems to be listening a little bit.
Yeah.
And then he's like, so we talk for a little bit about some things, and he says, you know what? Actually, I could use a sandwich. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, let's walk over there. So we're walking over there, and then we're getting close to where our food is. And he's like, listen, I don't want to go over there with all those people. Can you just go over and get me a sandwich and just come over back over here? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I get him a sandwich, come back. I just start talking about how God's real. The changes in my life, in gangs, in drugs.
Yeah.
Now I'm out, this and that.
Yeah.
And he's just listening, which is really cool. And so, I spent nearly about 2 hours with him talking about God. And then the crew's ready to go. They're packing up, and I'm like, listen, man, we come pick people up and take them to church. If you like, I'd like to come and get you, pick you up. And he's like, yeah, I'll think about it, whatever. And I'm like, well, great meeting you, great chatting with you, and I gave him some stuff, and I'm just about leaving. He's like, hold on a second, right? And I'm like, okay. And he's like, I know you were sent by the big guy.
Wow.
And I'm like, yeah, just young Chris. I'm like, yeah, I know
for
I
sure.
was.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
That's great. He's like, no, you don't get it, right? And I'm like, okay, what do you mean? And he's like, well, yesterday I was at my sister's funeral. She was murdered.
Wow.
I'm in the Hells Angels.
Wow.
The guy who murdered her is standing over her casket. I know him. I can't do anything about it. And I'm like, this just got really real.
Sheesh.
And he's like, I came down here to kill myself tonight.
Wow. Bro.
He's like, now I'm not going to do that.
Wow.
Because the big guy is looking out for me. And I don't even comprehend what's going down. This guy in Vancouver, I'm from some other city coming in there.
Yeah.
Some random dude, and
you
know what I mean? And just crazy enough to just talk to somebody, and this is the scenario. And boy, I'll tell you what, man, that jazzed me up for like a year.
Of course, man. Are you kidding me?
A year, and what a tender story. What a tender event, that God would use me in that manner, and I don't know all the scenario of his life. I didn't see him again.
Yeah.
But he stayed on the earth one more day. Yeah. Because I just
you were obedient,
followed the prompting of God, and did that. And so, these are real. This is real. This is what serving Jesus is about. Yeah. It's not about church necessarily. Yeah. And all that stuff, but it's about being Jesus to people. Yes. And helping people, the lost, the broken, those kind of things. So, I felt like, we've been in that vein a little bit, and bring that up. But those are, and I mean, I'm sure you've got many other stories. Yeah, it's wild, like those kind of things, you know. But that's really what God is up to. Yeah. When he's prompting us. Totally. When he's telling us little things.
That's beautiful, bro. And I like how you said it, like it sustained you for like a year. Like you were just jazzed up for a year. It's like these things, like they just stir us up to keep going, man. Like I want to start journaling and just kind of writing all these stories down just so I can remember, like just to remember the faithfulness of God, remember how he's moved. Absolutely. Remember what happened when I said no, like, or when I turned it away, or just it keeps you going, man. You keep seeing his goodness and his grace and his faithfulness and his mercy and his love. Like it just, there's no other way.
It reminds me of a scripture in the book of Acts where it said that they recognized that these men were ordinary men. Yeah. But had been with Jesus.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that.
Right? They've been with Jesus. And I think that, if there's nothing that people get out of this, we really are just two ordinary guys.
100%.
But we've encountered a radical God who wants to help people, change people, changed us, and then changes people around
and
us.
changing us.
And changing.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's just this.
It's a constant road.
Totally,
You know,
man.
that we're going. And speaking of road, let's move back to
come on.
and bring this all around a little bit.
Come on, bro.
So we've got the call. We're doing some piano. You were finishing with that. You started doing some piano.
Yep.
And so this is all happening like within a span of a year or even faster?
Faster, bro. It was faster.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like probably like 6 months, 6 to 8 months. It all just kind of unfolded. And I'm seeing all this happening very quickly. And even like some of the street ministry stories, all that stuff, it's all happening around the same time.
Yeah.
I went to watch a movie called Rent.
Okay.
It's a musical.
Okay.
And I'm like, I don't like musicals. But, there's a bunch of like people from the school who wanted to go. And the movie's done. Everyone leaves. I'm sitting in the theater by myself just weeping. Because I felt so broken for the people who were so broken in that movie. Like, okay, they're talented and they're just like beautiful people, but they're struggling and their addiction or whatever, all that kind of stuff. So I felt, man, I wish I could like help these people. And there's this guy named Richard who I'll never forget. He's one of my best friends at Trinity. And he was from Toronto, and he would always be doing janitor work. Like he'd do some work as a student. Like, so he's cleaning the bathrooms and he's always worshiping the Lord, singing as loud as he can. He was always like so off key. Like you'd think in the natural it was like, that was rough. But like, I know to the Lord, it was like a sweet, sweet sound, man.
Thank goodness for that.
Honestly, it's like, there's like that filter where like all of a sudden it's like a sweet aroma. But on earth, it's like, dang, that ain't sweet. Anyway, so he's like worshiping the Lord, cleaning toilets. And I'm just like, man, this guy seems really interesting. And I'm like newly saved. I'm leaving all my friends and thinking about leaving business and going into worship leading. And like this, my whole life is just like radically changing in this moment. So I watched the movie Rent, and the next day I see this guy, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna finally have the courage to talk to him. I've seen him for months, but I'm like, I'm too nervous. Like, how do you go up to someone and just say, hey, like, I really want to be your friend? Like, it was weird, especially as a dude. It's
different.
Like, it's different.
Different.
You know, if it's a girl, I'm like, okay, I feel comfortable a little bit. But as like hey, dude, can you be my best friend? It's like,
hey, nice shirt. Where'd you get that?
It's
but
like,
guys
dude,
don't do that stuff.
It's super awkward. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna have the courage to talk to this man.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, bro, like, you know, how's it going? Whatever. And we kind of connected. He's like, oh, I got to go. I have this event that I'm doing. Like, we go down to the downtown east side. And I just prayed, like, Lord, I really want an opportunity to help these people. And he's like, and I'm like, what do you mean? What do you do? He's like, oh, yeah, come. It's called street evangelism. Come with me tonight. We have like a whatever. So I go with him, and man, there's like a million stories after that.
Yes.
That's part 3 of our, you know, I'll come again. We'll
coming
do
up.
Coming up, man.
Yeah.
Kind of stay tuned, folks.
Oh, yeah.
But God was just moving. So I'm like playing music. I'm involved in street ministry. I'm just seeing like story after story after story. I'm like, oh my goodness. And I'm just like laying the groundwork and the foundation of like who God is now in a way that I haven't had maybe before. And so, I just started doing a lot of music and left Trinity eventually. I was doing business there. I left to a Bible college and did like theology and music. And so I didn't actually finish my business degree. I just went straight. I just left everything.
Straight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And theology too.
Yeah.
Theology and music.
Yeah. Theology and
Sounds
music.
like an interesting mix.
Yeah. It was awesome, man. I mean, at the end of the day, music, like you better, I'm a songwriter, and you know, you want to make sure what you're writing is theologically sound. If people are going to keep repeating it over and over and over again, hopefully, if your songs are good.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure, like, as I'm writing, I'm just like deeply rooted in the word.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you hadn't got any kind of, you know, position or, you know, opportunity at this moment?
No, it was just volunteering at the youth.
At the youth.
Yep.
Okay. Like most people start out.
When you're not
Shout
good and you're
youth.
young. Yeah, shut up, man.
Yeah.
The youth ministries
Youth
are
is killing it,
amazing,
man.
bro. Youth is amazing,
I literally
bro.
thought I would never stop youth ministry.
Yeah.
And I still might not.
Yeah.
But I love
youth ministry is epic.
Those are the real deal.
Yeah, I love it. It was like, except for the crazy food challenges, I can't handle that stuff, man. Like, I have a really weak stomach, so when you're putting like burgers and blending it with like
Chubby Bunny.
Oh god,
Chubby
man.
Bunny
I
with
can't
all
do
the
that
marshmallows.
Stuff, man. I can't do that stuff, man.
Yeah,
well,
we
marshmallows
know.
I could pound them down, but like
big Slurpee bowls.
But then they mix it with like every like it's like socks and dirty underwear and
so
burgers.
Many stories.
Like, it's like that's disgusting, man.
Yes.
What's that have to do with Jesus, man? Like freaking killing these kids.
Oh boy.
So I'm not a fan of that, but youth ministry changed my life, honestly, and like was just so blessed to like kind of be rooted there. And then I had to decide, like, where am I going to go to do like a position? Like, okay, I feel called to be a music pastor.
And you were good.
And I was getting trained.
You were obviously, I mean, like, I know you're a humble guy, but obviously God's doing something.
Yeah, he was equipping me
very
quickly. He was equipping me very quickly and opening really cool doors to meet people who have, over the years. And so I had to make a decision. Okay, am I gonna, like, I had an opportunity to go. So Tim Hughes is in England, in the UK.
Okay.
And I had an opportunity to potentially go out there and maybe like see if I can learn from him or work somewhere down there, whatever. There was like a guy who had some connections down there. So I was like, but that's far away. I don't want to leave my family, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So there was an opportunity there. There's an opportunity for a church in Abbotsford or just to stay in Langley and just volunteer and, go to Bible college and whatever. So I had to kind of just decide, where am I going to go? So I remember I wrote a letter to the Lord.
All right.
It was Sunday afternoon. Came back from church and they have an evening service. So I go home after the 3 services, chill for a bit, take my glorified afternoon nap, which is like so godly and amazing. I think people need to do it more.
Rest.
Oh, 100%. And then I wake up and then I go to the evening service. I'll drive out to Langley again and go to the evening service. So I wasn't tired, but I'm like, I'm just going to lay down. I'm like, okay, I'm going to write a letter to the Lord. I said, okay, Lord, like, I'm trying to decide between these 3 things. If you could just like tell me what you want me to do. And I just wrote like, love your son, Andrew. And I put the letter down beside my bed and I wasn't tired, but I'll just lay down. As soon as my head hit the pillow, I passed out. I fell asleep immediately. In my dream, same as the bug, like I wake up and I'm like in my room and this huge angel walks into my room and grabs the letter and he's reading the letter with the Lord. And I'm trying to jump over his shoulders to see like what part are they reading, like what's going on. I'm just like trying to look at what's happening. And as I'm doing that, there's these 2 girls who were like in the corner of my room and they're fighting like verbally. And they were fighting about where they gave their money to. Like this is such a bizarre dream. So it's like, I donated my money to this place. Where did you donate? Oh, I gave my money over here. How could you give your money over there? And they started fighting about where they gave their money. And I interrupted the angel and the Lord who were reading my prayer and said, okay, Lord, like, why are they fighting? Like they're both giving. Like it's a good thing. Like no matter where they give, it's a good thing. And honestly, like a rushing wind, bro, the Lord said, exactly, my son, anywhere you go and serve is a good thing. Just put me first.
Oh.
So here I am thinking like God's will for my life is this tiny, narrow path. And if I miss it, I'm totally out of his will and everything's a mess. And he's like, no, my son. The path is like, there's lots of options.
Oof.
Just put me first. I will go ahead of you. But anywhere you serve is a good thing.
Whoa. Come on.
Bro, it was wild.
This is some real stuff, man.
So I wake up and I was like screaming CLA for some reason. And I put on my clothes. I slept the whole thing. Woke up, went straight there. Right after church, went straight to the altar, prayed with the pastor, said, this is what just happened. And I'm just committing my life to just serving here and going to Bible college and just learning and being in this community. And it was just like, it's wild, man.
Gosh, wow, that hit me a little bit, man. Jeez, I mean, he's just so good.
He's so good, man. Gosh, he's so good.
And the fact that he would even like, it's almost like he wants to know your choice, maybe.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right?
Even though he like kind of knows it.
Oh, he totally. yeah, it's so awesome. It's
like
I
know
parent.
You know that
it's
I
like,
know that you know that I know that you know that
and
I
it's
know.
no surprise, but make it a surprise.
Yeah.
Kind of
and then it is still.
Yeah.
It's like, what the heck?
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, it's just like God is so good. And maybe people who are listening, if they're like, oh man, I don't know what to do with my life. It's like, just put him first, seek after him, abide in him. And just like everything else will fall. Seek first my kingdom and my righteousness. And everything else will just fall into place. And so just do that. Just look to him.
Yeah.
And take one step at a time. My dad always says to me, he's told me this a few times, the word is a lamp unto our feet, a light into our path. And back then a light wasn't an LED light that you could see the end of a football field. It was just like literally a little flashlight or like a little candle.
It was. Yeah.
You can only see a couple steps. So it's like, if that.
Yes.
So just take one step at a time in faith and know that he is going to direct each step.
And there's a comfort sometimes too.
Yeah.
In not needing to know.
Yeah.
everything
Totally.
and put it all together.
Yeah, imagine how stressful it would be. Like, hey, this is where you're going to go. It's like, how the heck am I going to get there?
You're in business school.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, you're going to be a music pastor. You're going to try. Like, no,
yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah. And how's that going to happen?
Yeah.
That's insane. Learn from all these people. Play an instrument. I don't even play one.
Yeah, that would be wild.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so he couldn't do that. It was just little bits here and there, right?
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we're at CLA. And how long were we there for? Like quite a while?
I was probably there for like I'd say like maybe 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
And then 2010, this is like 2007 to 2010. 2010, there was a job opening at Willingdon Church in Burnaby just to take over for someone while they went on sabbatical. I did a bunch of concerts at the Olympics, like
when they came to town.
When they came to town in 2010.
Yep.
And so someone saw me play there and referred me to Willingdon. Hey, there's this guy, he's a Christian guy, he has great music, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So they reached out to me because they saw me at this thing.
Okay.
And so I went to just fill a sabbatical role. And when the guy came back from sabbatical, I said, actually, we're going to be leaving and planting a church. So Willingdon was like, hey, we have this guy for 3 months. We trained him. We might as well he's here.
Yeah.
Just stay. So I stayed there for 3 years as well.
3 years.
3 years, 2010 to 2013.
So 3 months or whatever.
I know. Turned to 3 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, because I told CLA, hey guys, I'm going to go just fill in for this for 3 months and I'll be back. It's like 3 years later. It's like, bro, where have you been, man? It's like, so 2010 to 2013. Then in 2014, I started at CA Church and I was there for 10 years, almost 10 years. Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah.
And how did that set up?
The exit at Willingdon was terrible. It was a very bad exit, to say the least. Never wanted to do church ministry ever again in my life. And wept every day for about 3 months. Oof. It was terrible, bro. Yeah, it was terrible. It was really terrible. And anyways, while that happened, CA Church was looking for a worship pastor. And there was a guy who lived in the basement of the tech director at Willingdon. The tech director was telling his friend who lived with him that I just left Willingdon, and he knew like the situation was terrible. And this guy who lived with him said, hey, someone at CA Church is looking for a worship pastor. Well, this guy just left Willingdon, maybe. So then they kind of connected those dots.
Okay.
I never wanted to do ministry ever again, but I said, I'll go meet this pastor and just tell him I never want to do ministry ever again.
Oh boy.
So I meet with him, and man, he just like totally got it. He was in the same boat years ago in Alberta where he was so hurt and never wanted to do church ministry ever again.
Okay.
And so I just instantly thought, oh my goodness, this guy gets me, and I feel like I can heal under his leadership. So I reluctantly said yes because I was nervous to get into it again.
Sure.
And it was like 10 of the best ministry years of my life with him. Yeah.
Another setup,
man.
Jeez.
God's just setting people up, man. Always for the benefit of his kingdom and his glory and for the good of our souls, man.
Yeah.
And the good of others. Like, it's just like, it's the most beautiful setup.
Yeah. 10 years. And when did you start writing your own music?
I started writing early, man. Like right when I got saved.
Oh, okay.
And I was recording, I started recording. So 6 months into learning guitar. And if you listen to my first record, you'd be like, oh yeah, that was 6 months when learning guitar.
Is that right? Okay.
It's terrible.
No.
My mom's my number one fan, and she's kind of like,
Oh,
no. It's good, but like everything I do for my mom is like unbelievable.
Oh, nice.
But she'd probably even admit like, it's not your best work.
Okay. Oh boy.
So yeah, I released the record. 2006, 2007, I started just writing right away. Just like I was just so grateful. So everything was like literally 3 chords, just move the capo around, and I'm just like worshiping God in my house and just recording them.
Okay.
And,
yeah.
so I just started doing it right away.
Right.
2009, I released another record, Emptiness Speaks Volumes, and I'm really pumped about that record. It was such a beautiful time in my life and a lot of creative stuff and some really cool songs and good stories behind the songs. And then another 2011.
Check it out.
And then 2013. And then 2016 is when I actually signed with a major label in Nashville, Tennessee, and flew out there every few months to, meet with label stuff and write with other artists and whatever. So like kind of God just kept opening crazy doors, man. Crazy doors that I got to. Like my last record I did was with Ed and Scott Cash, and they're from We the Kingdom, which is a huge band, and they do all this stuff for Tomlin and Carrie Joe and all these people. It's like I find myself in this circle where I'm with all these people. And I'm like, they're going to find out that I'm a fraud. They're going to find out that I don't know what I'm doing.
That you wanted to be in business.
Yeah, I was like, here's another cool thing. Because music world, you need to understand business practices. So it's almost like everything that happens in our lives is not an accident, from the beginning.
Come on.
So it's like he knew I needed business, then he knew I needed theology.
Just a little, enough.
not just enough,
right?
Marketing and accounting, right? They're gonna figure it out. Don't get into the nitty gritty. But then it's like you look back at your life now. It's like, oh, every chapter, the successes and the failures, the hardships, the burnout, which we'll talk about in another episode. But like, it all is a part of the plan that I need to do what he's called me to do. So it's
stretching, the breaking it down, rebuilding, stronger.
The thinking that I'm in business, did I waste those years? No, because of the relationships, the people, the calling, the street ministry, the know-how for business that I'll need later. And now I'm doing real estate as well. So it's kind of like everything just kind of is not an accident. Even if you think you took the wrong turn. God's going to use it for his good and for his purposes and for his glory. God works all things together for the good of those who love him. So if I love him, everything I do, even if it's the wrong turn.
It's right here. And we know.
Come
all
on, bro.
things work together. Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyways.
What a crazy ride.
It's a roller coaster ride, man. And I tell people, you follow Christ and you live a life of obedience and faithfulness and holiness.
Yes.
We're supposed to be called to be set apart, consecrated.
In the world. Not of the world.
And so like just pursuing holiness, pursuing him, being obedient, being faithful, listening to his voice, trying to obey what he calls us to, buckle up, seatbelt on, and flipping enjoy the ride because it is like the most beautiful ride you'll ever experience. And again, it's a roller coaster. So there's like some highs, lots of crashing lows.
Yes.
But he is present through it all. And, I can't imagine being in those lows without him.
Right. And the lows have, weird things in it too for us because then when we get to the highs, we understand what it's all about a little bit more. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I know that very well, and so we can see that it's quite evident when you walk that road. Yeah. There's purpose. Yeah. And building and stretching, and all of that kind of stuff. So, all right, now we got to the point where we're signed internationally, touring all over the world, France, Belgium, Berlin, Germany. This little guy, you know what I mean? Totally. And this is what, I'm trying to remember, 12 years. 10 years? Yeah, God started doing crazy things maybe 3 or 4 years into music. So people would be like, I don't understand how you've been doing it so short. Let me tell you, because it's not actually about me. Let me tell you the story, because it's wild. Okay. And I get to again proclaim it's not it's just I was just ready. Wow. I was just available. I put my hand up real quick that one morning. And then everything else just kind of snowballed. To think what would have happened if you didn't. I know. And I mean, obviously there's hard work and, you put effort and you practice your instrument daily and you're just trying to okay, God has given me these gifts and these passions and now I want to just really. And even your own critiquing. Totally. Right? Totally. That is hard. And even getting other people, hey, critique the song, sure. Let's just I'm just. Something you think is really good. Oh man, I've done so many voice memos. Even the other day I do a voice memo 3 a.m. I'm I wake up half asleep. I'm oh, this is a really sick melody. So I sing it. Wake up the next day, I'm oh man, that song was so good to listen to. That's the worst melody I've ever heard in my life. No. So I mean, it's just it's a journey, but it's you do have to put the effort and the hard work and be diligent. And the race is not an easy coasting race. It's you got to train like an athlete, man. You got to there's discipline. Lay aside. Weights, things that are holding you back and press on. Yeah, totally. So it was a really cool journey. But by 2016, I've been doing it for about 10 years. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and 9-10 years, and then I signed with a label down there, and I signed with some of my heroes. It was just wild. Everything was just so wild. Or hey, you're gonna write with this guy today, write with that guy today, and writing with Leland and writing with Paul Baloche and all these people who are just they're absolute legends and heroes in my life. Big and heroes in my life. Yeah, as worship leaders and songwriters. Yes. So to just all of a sudden find myself in this world where I'm oh my gosh, these people want to hang out with me and they want to write with me, and I don't understand how this is happening, and I don't want to. Again, it's just You don't need to either,
I don't need
really,
to.
I guess.
Yep,
You know,
yep.
it's
So-
just like you said, strap in.
Totally, man. Enjoy
and
the
hold
ride.
on.
Hold
Absolutely,
on, man.
'cause
Yeah,
it's
so
pretty crazy.
it's pretty crazy. Yeah. So that was a really cool journey, just to kind of see God opening really cool doors and opportunities, and to share these songs and share these stories and share the hardships and the prayers that came out of these hardships. And, you know, I did a tour in Europe, and I brought my mom with me for one of them. My wife was at home with our little one, and we couldn't bring, they came with me to one tour, but the other tour was just a little bit hard. So my mom came with me. We did like Switzerland and Berlin and all these different places. And every concert we do, I'd like call her out and tell her, like, she prayed for me. Like every day she prayed for me. Every Sunday she'd come to the altar and pray for me. And every concert she literally got a standing ovation.
Oh,
It was just so cool.
Come on, yeah.
And so it's just like, man, like it's just so cool, man. Like God
what
is
an
just,
honor. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we're coming to a good spot here, because
Yeah.
we're going to do another show.
Totally, man. I
where
can't
we're
wait.
going to talk more about some of the harder things.
Totally.
Like
yeah.
we got into some few hard things, but this is
Yeah.
really where
Yeah.
things go different.
Yeah.
And, you know, so people, what a great time. In Doubt, you got to, I'm going to put up all this stuff in the
awesome.
comments for you to check it out. You got to follow him. You got to listen to him. And, I mean, this has been too long coming almost,
Come
man.
on, bro.
I mean, wow. I'm so blasted. So much meat from this
Come on.
conversation already, just even for me to, you know, do some reflecting on my own life, where I'm at today, you know, to press on more.
Yeah.
And so we've gone from this, you know, start of, you know, Jesus changed everything, to this great crescendo where you're now internationally known, and with some of the biggest people that are in Big Eva and whatever, you know, out there. And, you know, last word goes to you.
Man, a couple things. Just abide in him. Stay close to him. When you feel promptings, pray, and go with confidence, and don't be worried about your pride or your ego. Put everything aside. This life is not ours. And so just be faithful to what God is saying in your life. Also, the press. We need to talk about that. At the press on Instagram. Like, subscribe if you're watching this. Follow along. This guy's doing great stuff, and I'm just really honored to be here, man.
I appreciate it, man. Well, thanks again for coming.
Yep.
We're going to get into some more serious stuff on our next episode. And so make sure you are subscribed, like, follow, all those things. Get the notifications turned on. This is kind of the beginning right now. So if you get in now, you're going to be kind of like, you know,
the OGs, man. Like, oh my God.
Exactly.
Remember the
right?
first time they broke bacon together? It's like you're a part of the OGs,
This
man.
is a special show,
Come
forever
on.
going in the press history.
Come on, man.
Thanks again, buddy. We'll see you all again. Well, there you go, guys. Part 1 of this interview. So many good things, so many good stories, so many challenges, so many things where God was super faithful. And I encourage you maybe to replay this over, just so you can really get all of the meat, as it was, so to speak, in the podcast. Really good. Lots to meditate on, think about, pray on, different things like that God might be doing things in your life. So let's just take some time and kind of double click on this a little bit. We will have another episode coming up with Andrew Marcus in the future, and we're going to continue this conversation a little bit different. There's some challenges that Andrew's gone through and is still coming out of. And he was very vulnerable, shared some things with us about these things he's gone through. And I really believe it's going to help a lot of people and minister to a lot of people who might be going through the same thing. So once again, I want to thank Andrew Marcus, the In Doubt podcast, Back to the Bible, all of those different things that he's a part of. What a blessing to have him on the show. More than anything, you know, it was an honor to chat with somebody who's in the industry doing good things and continuing to fight his fight of faith. Well, there you go, people. That's it. That's this broadcast. Thanks for tuning in. Great hanging out with you. We will see you next time. And remember, stay salty, friends.